You know, the internet is just, I feel like it's constantly buzzing about the AI wars.
I think.
Everyone's trying to figure out, like, is Claude better than Gemini? Or is Gemini better at picking sides? But
Mm,
what if? What if that's actually just kind of the wrong question to be asking?
mm. That's a really interesting way to put it. And the source material we're looking at today,
Mm-hmm.
which you or a listener actually sent in, it totally suggests that.
Yeah.
It argues, against this competition idea and for something, well, something different.
Yeah, we got this guide. It's kind of like a playbook almost, and it makes a really strong case that the people getting truly amazing results with AI,
Yeah.
they're not trying to pick one winner. They're using both.
Ah,
And our mission in this deep dive is to figure out how they do that. How do you take these, incredibly powerful but also really different AI models and actually orchestrate them, like make them work together smoothly, like a symphony?
that symphony analogy, it's right there in the source and it's spot on.
Right.
Like a conductor, you don't expect the violins to sound like the drums.
Right.
You shouldn't expect one AI to do everything. Each has its own strengths, its own voice.
You got to understand them.
Exactly.
Right.
And direct them effectively.
Right. And maybe you sent this source in because you're kind of wrestling with your own AI workflows, seeing the potential, but feeling a bit stuck in that, which one do I use?
It happened.
Well, this playbook, it offers a way past that.
Yeah.
So let's dive in. What's the big shift in thinking it talks about?
Okay, so the guide kicks off by tackling that very common question head on. Is Claude for Opus better than Gemini 2.5 Pro?
The classic question.
Right. It acknowledges, sure, you want to know the power level,
Yeah.
but it immediately pivots. It says the most successful folks aren't getting bogged down in that simple better or worse comparison for everything.
Yeah, they're not asking which AI is the single best. They're asking, how do I get these tools to work together to solve this specific problem I have right now? It's kind of like building something, You wouldn't ask if a hammer is better than a screwdriver, would you?
No, different jobs.
Exactly. They do different things. The right question is, which tool is better for this nail or this screw
Yeah,
right now?
precisely. And the guide uses that word, orchestration.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about designing these workflows where one AI does what it's uniquely good at
Okay.
and then hands the results off to the other model for the next step, which plays to its unique strengths.
So like a relay race.
Yeah, a relay race, not a cage match. It's a sequence.
Okay. So if you're going to be this conductor, you got to know your instruments, know the players,
Never
the
could
source,
start.
spend some time on that, right? Understanding their personalities, it calls them. Not which is smarter, but they're like complementary superpowers.
Exactly. And it paints these really clear pictures. First up, they talk about Gemini 2.5 Pro.
Ah, the data heavyweight champion. I
Yeah.
like that phrase from the source. What makes it the heavyweight? What's its, big superpower?
Well, its standout feature is its massive context window. We're talking 1 to 2 million tokens.
Whoa. Okay, million.
Yeah, just enormous. It means it can basically ingest and process just huge amounts of information all at once.
So, like, if I had, I don't know, 1,000-page report or a giant pile of research papers.
It could probably handle it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's built for scale.
Right.
So it excels at processing those huge data sets, hundreds, thousands of pages. It's also strong with multimodal stuff, understanding text, images, audio, video all together. Great for like rapid prototyping based on tons of data or spotting those high-level patterns hidden in just massive amounts of information.
Okay, so its personality is kind of fast, technical, almost encyclopedic.
Yeah.
Really focused on volume, breadth, like that super diligent research assistant who just reads everything you give them and tells you what's there, the
Yeah.
facts.
That's a great way to put it. It finds the facts, the patterns, and the noise.
Yeah.
Now, contrast that with Claude 4 Opus. The source calls it the strategic and creative virtuoso.
Virtuoso. Okay, that sounds fancier. More finesse.
Yeah, it's less about the sheer quantity and more about the depth, the nuance, the intelligence, maybe.
Okay.
Its superpower is more about really paying attention to detail, handling complex reasoning, understanding subtle shades of meaning, creative output, and crucially, getting the human intent behind things.
So if Gemini reads everything, Claude figures out what it actually means.
Pretty much. It's
Right.
best at that precise, nuanced analysis,
Yep.
getting to the why the data matters, not just what it says.
Oh,
It's good at weaving facts into a story, digging into psychological insights, understanding motivations. And interestingly, the source notes, it's really good at creating visually appealing and strategically sound design assets, too.
Huh. Okay, so the personality here is more thoughtful, meticulous, creative, focused on impact, depth, quality of insight, like that elite strategy consultant or creative director analogy they use.
Oh, exactly.
Takes the big pile of research Gemini digs up and turns it into, like, a killer presentation or a solid plan.
That analogy really nails the difference in their roles, yeah.
So the magic formula for making them work together, as the source calls it, it just flows directly from these different strengths then.
It absolutely does. The core strategy they lay out is pretty straightforward. Use Gemini 2.5 Pro for the initial heavy lifting.
Right, the big data crunch.
The large-scale data ingestion, processing different types of media, that rapid analysis of huge inputs because of that giant context window.
Got it.
Then you hand that output, that factual summary, off to Claude for Opus. Claude acts as the strategic finisher.
The finisher, okay.
It takes Gemini's factual report and transforms it into sharp, nuanced insights, compelling stories, and those ready-to-use assets like reports, decks, maybe even design concepts.
Oh, so it's like Gemini finds and delivers all the raw lumber and bricks.
Yeah.
And Claude is the architect and master builder who turns it into the impressive, finished house.
That's a really good way to think about that handoff, leveraging their core strengths one after the other.
Okay, this is where it gets really useful, right? The playbook doesn't just talk theory, it gives actual workflow examples, how people do this.
It gives several.
Which ones really stood out to you as showing this synergy in action?
Well, the one on massive data analysis to actionable strategic intelligence is just
okay.
a perfect example because it directly plays on Gemini's massive context window.
Okay, right. So the problem there is you've got something huge you need to analyze for strategy, like that 400-page annual report example or a ton of research papers.
Yeah.
Claude might be great at strategy, but it can't easily read that entire thing at once, right? Its context window isn't that big.
Exactly. It's big, but not that big. So the workflow solution is, step one, Gemini, feed it the whole 400-page beast.
Okay.
Its huge context window lets it read and process the entire thing. You prompt it to pull out key facts, trends, risks, opportunities, maybe competitor mentions, whatever you need. It gives you back this comprehensive, detailed report summarizing what's in the original document.
Okay, so Gemini spits out maybe, I don't know, a 50-page detailed summary. Still a lot, but way better than 400 pages. And then you take that.
And you feed that detailed summary from Gemini right into Claude. Now, Claude acts like the senior strategist.
Right.
It takes Gemini's extracted facts and synthesizes them. It doesn't just list things, it interprets them. It can generate strategic priorities, draft competitor profiles, build out risk matrices. The source even mentions mocking up visual dashboards with brand colors or creating an executive action plan.
Wow. So Gemini does the brute force reading and fact-finding. Claude does the high-level strategic thinking and packages it for action.
Exactly.
And the source claims this whole thing, 400 pages to an actionable strategy deck, could take like 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah, the efficiency gain is potentially enormous if you've ever tried to do that manually.
Oh man, hours, days, maybe.
And they also mentioned Claude's persistent memory could be handy here too for keeping track of complex projects over time. Just a neat detail.
That really shows how the handoff covers the weaknesses of each model. Okay, what's another workflow that caught your eye?
The deep audience intelligence one is really interesting because it aims to go beyond just surface-level market research.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. A lot of audience research feels kind of thin, right? Our users are 30-45, live in cities, like dogs.
Generic.
Yeah, but it misses the why. The psychology, what actually motivates them.
Absolutely. And the source shows how collaboration gets you that depth. Step one, use Gemini for pattern finding across massive amounts of unstructured data.
Okay, so like thousands of customer reviews, support tickets, social media comments.
Exactly. All that messy real-world data. Gemini Scale lets it process all of that and find recurring patterns, not just what people say they like, but patterns in their actual behavior, the emotions in their language, specific pain points, moments of delight. It generates a report identifying these underlying patterns.
So Gemini sifts through all that noise and finds the hidden signals. Then you give that pattern report to Claude.
And Claude does this psychological deep dive. It takes Gemini's patterns and builds those really insightful, psychologically driven customer personas.
Ah.
It goes beyond demographics to understand decision processes, communication preferences, core motivations, behavioral triggers. It helps you understand why customers do what they do.
Not just what they like.
Exactly.
And the playbook mentions Claude can even generate these visual persona cards, like easy to digest summaries that marketing or product teams can actually use.
Yeah, turning that raw behavioral data into actionable human insight, it's super valuable for refining messaging, product features, sales approaches, you name it.
That's powerful. Okay, let's grab one more example from the source. There was one about a collaborative AI design critique system that sounded kind of cool.
Yeah, this one's neat because it involves the models almost, critiquing each other.
Huh. How does that work?
Well, the problem it addresses is that AI can prototype design ideas super fast, right? But sometimes those initial builds, they lack strategic polish. Maybe the user experience isn't quite right, or it's missing some key function an expert would expect.
Right, you get something that works technically, but maybe isn't intuitive or doesn't solve the real user need elegantly.
Exactly. So the workflow is like a loop. Build a critique and enhance final product.
Okay.
Step 1. Use Gemini for the initial build. It's fast, it's functional. The example they use is building, say, an app dashboard prototype based on competitor analysis, like a SEO keyword tool dashboard. Gemini can quickly generate a version 1.0.
Okay, so Gemini builds the basic scaffolding. Functional, but maybe rough. Then Claude comes in, acting like the world-class UX designer and product strategist, as the source puts it.
Yes, exactly. You give Claude Gemini's initial output, the code, the design mockup, and the original brief or inspiration. Claude then performs a detailed critique.
Like a design review.
Precisely. It analyzes the UX, the strategic flow, spots missing pieces, identifies areas where the design could be clearer, more effective, more user-friendly.
So it's basically looking at Gemini's work and saying, this flow is confusing, or you really need a filter here.
Exactly. Like a senior expert reviewing a junior's first draft.
Wow.
And then, based on its own critique, Claude builds an enhanced version 2.0.
Ah, okay.
The guide points out Claude's version often has like better visual hierarchy, clearer data presentation, adds those thoughtful little features an expert user would want, and just provides more cohesive, strategic overall experience.
That is really smart. You get Gemini's speed for the first pass and then Claude's strategic design brain for the refinement. And the source says you can even keep iterating. Ask Claude for more tweaks based on feedback. That build a critique enhance loop. That really shows the synergy, doesn't it? Feels like that's the 1 + 1 = 3 the source talks about.
It really does. It overcomes the limitation of trying to get one model to be both blazing fast and deeply strategic in design.
Yeah.
You get both speed and depth in the final output.
Okay, so the guide isn't just theory or cool workflows. It actually gives some pointers on how to get started, right? There's that implementation roadmap mentioned weeks 1 through 4.
Yeah, it's brief, but it hits the key points. Start small. Pick one simple workflow. Get really comfortable with just that handoff process between Gemini and Claude.
Master the handoff first.
Right. Then systematize it so it's repeatable. And crucially, measure the impact. Are you actually getting better results? Faster results?
Because the whole point here, the guide argues, isn't just to use AI more. It's about creating that unfair advantage it mentions.
Yeah.
Getting around the limits of each individual model by combining their strengths. Getting that consistently higher quality output you just couldn't hit with one alone.
Right. It's about building these smarter, multi-step systems using the best tools available right now. That's where the real leverage is.
So I guess to kind of wrap this deep dive up, the core message from the source seems really clear. Stop asking which AI is better overall in some abstract sense.
And start asking, okay, for this specific task, for this step in my process, which AI is the better tool for the job?
Exactly. And the real power for you listening isn't just picking the best model, it's becoming the conductor. It's about taking the amazing tools you have access to today.
Which are already incredibly powerful.
Yeah. And building smarter, more effective systems with them, orchestrating them.
You don't necessarily need to wait for some mythical perfect AI down the road, the big wins, that competitive edge. It's happening now by cleverly combining the models we already have.
Absolutely. So maybe the thing to think about leaving this deep dive is this. We walked through a few of these collaborative workflows today, the massive data analysis, the deep audience intelligence, that cool design critique loop. Thinking about those or maybe other challenges you're wrestling with, which specific collaborative workflow are you most excited to maybe try out first? What specific problem in your work could combining the strengths of models like Claude and Gemini potentially solve for you?